Welcome back to the Hellcase Cup 8. I've managed to wolf down a sandwich in between the break, but it was a very short one, as we did just see a CIS squad take themselves through into the upper bracket, and we're about to get a second. But not because I'm biased, but because both of our teams are from the CIS. It's one team who definitely surprised us a little bit going into the RMR event that we just witnessed. I think ESPADA, well, I guess both teams technically surprised us, but for very different reasons. One, managing to get through the qualifier and basically proving to us that they were worthy of getting some big boy points, finishing in 5th and rising up the table. The other forZe who may have actually destroyed their own chances of making it to the major by not making it even through the qualifier. So now, after also failing to get into Pro League, forZe definitely in need of a win. And so I think we're going to see them put on a real show today, fighting off against ESPADA.
Yeah, hopefully so, because this forZe team we know have some really talented players on here. Flit is someone who is rumored to be in discussion with Na'Vi at a time. xsepower as an AWPer is definitely very exciting as well. And we're heading into Mirage as the first map of this series. I assume ESPADA have picked this because they love a good bit of Mirage. And they're moving into this A-bomb site where forZe are giving them a lot of ground here on A.
Yeah, map pool-wise, I think that ESPADA have actually done pretty well. The last time they played, they picked Train and lost it, and now have ended up with the third map of Train anyway. Degster, though, a nice start to the round. He's going to open up. Another couple of kills going their way, and the CT retake has met a bombardment of Glocks, which will pretty much secure the round. It's left on to just Flit and xsepower, probably the two you'd look to on this matchup to really do the damage. xsepower, obviously, were tainted as potentially one of the most talented AWPers, well, not, I want to say in the world, but he was definitely up there at a point. Like, there was a moment you could have said that, but he's definitely not had the consistency we like to see, and was definitely someone to watch within the CIS region. Flit as well, I believe just 19 years of age, and as you mentioned, someone who Na'Vi wanted, but couldn't quite afford.
Yeah, which is unfortunate for them. I mean, they ended up with Perfecto, so it kind of worked out for them. But you can see the odds at the start of this series, brought to you by Unicorn. It is forZe who are pretty solid favorites, which I think is fair, just based on the players you see on these teams and just based on the name value of them. The recent form, though, has probably been better for ESPADA. So I really want to see forZe just stepping up here and stamping some authority and really proving that they are one of the best teams in CIS still, because that can now be called into question after some of their recent results.
Well, yeah, they're not even within the top 8 in the RMR rankings, and I believe ESPADA are either 8th or 9th, so they're definitely in a higher position at the moment, but I still have faith in forZe. It may not be the best start to this match, can't really expect too much after losing the pistol. The force buy is looking fairly weak. Almazer maybe saving a little bit of cash to just spend on utility. Of course, the man you expect to get the AWP xsepower also has some finances remaining. But this is a very good start for ESPADA, a chance to make some real money. A few pistols might be saved into the next round for forZe just to try and do some extra damage, but ultimately it is going to be the 2-0 start.
Yeah, solid start to this game for ESPADA. We know that their Mirage was a map they really like to lean into. From what we saw at that RMR tournament, they were picking this all the time. And they were generally getting pretty good results on it. They got a win against Gambit Youngsters. They got a win against Windstrike. Some close games in there. They also lost against Spirit, which I don't think is a bad loss to have. It was a fairly close map, 16-11. And we know that Spirit were one of the teams that definitely proved themselves at that tournament. Ended up in the final against Na'Vi, where they lost, but they put up a reasonable fight in that final. Here in the Hellcase Cup, though, we're still pretty far away from the final. We're still on the first day of CS action. And here on Mirage, it is a save for forZe into this one again. Just a few pistols being bought. So it should be a nice, comfortable 3-0 lead for ESPADA, getting them some confidence early, getting them some early round wins. Unless forZe can somehow pull off something with these pistols. And Flick gets them off to a good start, landing that first shot in mid. ESPADA unable to trade it back, so a clean man advantage for forZe.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see if there's going to be any chance to retrieve that weapon. As of right now, it seems like they're fairly static. Patsi also being caught out around the edge of the smoke. Now, bear in mind, this is just a couple more upgraded pistols and the weaponry that they already had. I like the fact that we are seeing the AK thrown out, but that is a waste of a smoke. And in fact, that reduces their smoke count, and you guessed it, Alex, to 0.
Yeah, that sucks. But maybe they won't need the smokes. They've got some other utility to work with as well. A couple of mollies and flashes in the mix. They used one of those mollies just then to take control of a ladder room, which they will do successfully. But ESPADA still need kills, and forZe just aren't giving them any fights right now. After taking a 2-man lead, forZe are sitting snug on their bomb site, snug in these close corners. And this is where the molly could make the difference if you could clear out one of these positions. But Flitz landed a further shot. sLowi finally opens up the round for ESPADA, but there's a lot more to be done, and they don't know. almazer, they haven't cleared him. Big mistake made, and FinigaN surely falls at the end here. almazer getting 2 kills from the sneaky spot on the site. And that's the skill that's available on forZe there, winning with just the pistols.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that's happened. Like, that was a round where it was just saving some of the extra weaponry and then picking up an extra couple of pistols, but we see that pure individual skill that just hasn't quite been consistent enough for forZe recently. I've just seen coming out from HLTV, they posted where they currently are. They are 10th, so they are very far down. I think about 2,000 points away from being in first, which is definitely not ideal. They'd have to pretty much win the next RMR event, and their opponents would have to get very low points for that to even be a possibility. Here we go. A strong start. xsepower is going to be removed from the round. Someone you can normally rely on to dominate middle. It's just been isolated very quickly. The CT side, their response is to try and gain some control in middle, whereas ESPADA with their man advantage are looking to try and put the pressure onto A. They don't have a whole lot of utility again. 2 smokes, which will allow them at least to close out some positions, but the bigger issue is just the fact that they've got no Molotovs, and to clear out some of the close angles is going to be tough. Luckily for them, there's no one here.
Yeah, forZe took a bit of a risk. They started looking for information at mid. I think then they were going to push through underpass, but now they've realized it's A. They'll try and rotate over where Flit misses his mark with the AWP. That's a shot that probably needed to land to give his team a chance on this retake, because now the bomb gets planted, and Patsi and sLowi both finding even more damage for ESPADA. This is a round that forZe will not be winning. It's all about the save at this point. And to their credit, Flit and almazer both have a fair bit of money in the bank. So if they can save these guns, they can probably keep on buying up into the next one. But yeah, that's just ESPADA getting that opening pick, finding the weakness, finding the right gap in the defense. forZe took a bit of a risk, which forZe are a team that like to do that sometimes. They like to take some gambles like that. They like to go for some aggressive plays. And sometimes that's not going to work for you. And this is one of those rounds where they get the read wrong, and they have to give up a round pretty easily. ESPADA taking this one and getting a 3-1 lead.
Well, yeah, I think one of the bigger issues, at least from my eyes with this forZe roster, is I feel like Jerry is almost micromanaging every player within the team. Like, it seems very common that he will have certain setups where it's consistently, like, for example, if you watch Overpass, they will switch their whole team's positions at one point in a round. And I feel like that's just too much. Like, I like the fact that he wants to be proactive. I like the fact that he's clearly trying to do what he can for his team. But I think that in some of the rounds, you just see there being too many, like, attempts like being the big brain 200 IQ in-game leader, when sometimes you're just the better team and you don't need to show everything you've got. And especially versus a team like ESPADA, they should be able to play relatively default rounds and just win them. And even if you look at the pistol round that they took, a little bit of aggression in mid, passive positions on both sides, split the defense and win. That's not something you can normally do with pistols. So if you could do it with pistols, you should easily be able to do it with rifles.
Now, we'll see if they can do it with rifles in this round. Last time out, they lost that opening pick, which is part of the problem they had. This time around, xsepower not fighting for mid. He's playing on the B side of the map, so we won't get any early fights here in round number 5. Mid control being gathered by ESPADA. Early smoke deployed into window. So they are still worried about xsepower's AWP potentially being in that position. And ESPADA will start to sneak on up through mid, making their way towards connector. Over on the A side of the map, Jerry just got flashed into a ramp, but is not going to go for any further aggression into that position. Instead, looking at Palace right now. And ESPADA, now that they've got this mid control, have to decide what they want to do with it. They've got plenty of nades to work with, but again, it's those smokes that are lacking. They've used all their smokes early on mid, and they're going to try and move in through connector.
facecrack. He's only going to get one. Jerry needs a kill and will succeed. I think he spotted the man coming around, but it isn't prepared for FinigaN to peek from the lower angle. Rotation will be coming in, and actually they planted for CT. This should be a free kill, but degster still finds the shot. Flit. That had to be a kill for him. Luckily, xsepower is still going strong. This AWP in his hands once again. There's so much utility from the T's being expended in his direction. It almost looks like a spot where he might just have to consider the save, especially with degster in such an aggressive position. That's the free kill. He's still going for this. Has a smoke available. Could just look to try and fake things out. Maybe bait someone into a peek, but did he actually tap the bomb?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter apparently, because Patsi peeked anyway and just got the kill. So it's all good for ESPADA. They get their 4th round win. Sometimes you can just put the smoke down, and if the player's far enough away, you don't need to tap the bomb necessarily, I guess, is part of the thinking behind it. Or if you try and make enough noise in all the panic, maybe the opponent's going to peek. Yeah, I didn't hear the tap personally, but sound can be a funny thing sometimes, Tom. I'm also pretty tired, so maybe my ears aren't working. Maybe my ears are still asleep.
Don't think that's a thing.
No, I've just made it up, but it sounds like it could be real.
I'm just imagining your ears like flopping over,
yeah,
like
that's
closing, and
yeah.
like almost snoring ears. Horrifying, but either way, we're back on the pistols. It's where forZe have actually had their only round victory so far. A good start for the T side. And interestingly, one of the main players we watched during the Clutch Island that was a high performer was Dima, but he's not really done anything so far. Maybe not been needed. degster's had some decent entries. Patsi, the youngster, still going strong. It does seem funny almost saying the youngster to him and not degster when degster's only 18, but Patsi is just 16 years of age, and definitely another one to watch. Unfortunately, if he does rise to the stardom that his team will be hoping for, you do kind of worry that, again, there'll be a big fish coming to steal him away from the pond. xsepower, good position, and there you go, the dirty dig. He tries to get the gun, but unfortunately it's not enough. facecrack given 3 attempts at a 1 dig, and, well, if you cut out the first 2, it looks quite impressive. He's got the kill nonetheless, but the trades come back thick and fast. Patsi and degster, the destroyers of forZe, and they now have a 5-1 start.
Yeah, again, the pistol rounds looking the most competitive for forZe, which is something that's going to have to change because they're getting gun rounds more and more often. As xsepower just spamming away with the dig. It's always nice when players line up like that with the dig, even though you're not accurate after the first shot. If you just spam, most of the times the bullets are going to go roughly where you need them to. And ESPADA, again, have been very focused on mid control in these early rounds. This time, though, it's only sophic here selling some presence at mid, while the rest of the players were potentially thinking about a quick play through Palace. I believe that smoke has slowed them down, though, so ESPADA not upping the pace in this round just yet. Again, we still need to see forZe get more involved at the starts of some of these rounds, especially xsepower's AWP hasn't been too involved in some of these early fights. You were saying earlier, normally he's pretty good in that mid position at shutting things down or at least finding some fights. But this time round, he's playing it really safe, rotating his AWP over to the A side of the map as both teams continue to cut the noise. And we have a nice calm round so far.
And the CT side this time, not really gone hunting too much for information. I like the fake smokes thrown over, trying to bait a rotation, but it's failed miserably. The CT side haven't moved, and Incendiary even going down, and Jerry gets the timing almost spot on. Ready for a repeak as well, so just trying to set up some nades, looking to try and help out his stars, but it seems like even while blind, it's not necessary, and, well, facecrack thieves one away, but Jerry has managed to do the majority of the lifting. A second on the board, a clean one as well, and it is fairly confusing to me, if I'm honest, Alex, that they can go from winning pistol rounds to getting dominated over a couple, and then they win one as clean as day in their second round on the board.
I feel like that's just forZe in a nutshell, though. There's never any consistency to this team, at least recently. Between games, between series, between rounds even, you kind of get a wildly different forZe team, it feels like. That's been their biggest issue, because you can clearly see some of the up signs for this team when they have rounds like that look really solid. xsepower starting to assert his dominance at mid as well, but degster's able to get one in reply. Both AWPers opening up the rounds, but xsepower goes for a really risky play, and Patsi was prepared for it. Gets an easy kill, gets his team the man advantage, and ESPADA will be getting themselves mid control.
This round seems to come down to what Flick can do. It's expected, and that's just not enough. Like, Patsy's able to hit the headshot, and now it's left all on to Jerry and almazer.
That's terrifying, that smile.
almazer in a position, but Dima just insta-domes him as he walks out onto the site, and this is a sixth round. There's almost nothing that Jerry can do. Unfortunately, he'd taken a fair amount of real estate to get in on a flank, but the fact is, it's just going to end up with him saving.
Yeah, xsepower just overextending at mid there. I'm really surprised that he dropped down from window. I wonder if it's because he couldn't get involved on those mid fights earlier. Maybe he's trying to overcome that. Maybe he's trying to overcompensate and try and go for that fight into underpass. But it was a real risk, and you saw that Patsi was prepared for it. Patsi just taking a couple of fights that go his way. I think forZe have got to figure out whether or not they want to fight hard for this mid control. In some of the earlier rounds, or in that previous round they won, they just gave up mid, which is a viable option on Mirage. If you just want to give up that mid control and play more on the sites, you can do that. You can play for even retake on A if you want to. And so far, whenever they've fought for mid, ESPADA have just been able to win those battles. They've been able to either use nades or just use their majority of players to be able to win those fights. So I think forZe need to figure out whether or not they want to fight for that mid control into some of these future rounds. And into this one, they do still have a buy, still have money on the forZe side, but they are starting to lose out here. 6-2 down now on the forZe side of things, and facecrack's in trouble. He's dead.
Losing a man, but xsepower quick enough on the trades. Jerry again trying to fight, and xsepower's come around to help out, leaving just two standing. Patsi, sophic. Patsi's been playing relatively well. I think he heard some footsteps coming through, and he has managed to find a kill through the connector as well, turning things into a 2v2 situation. This youngster has been flying high so far, but almazer is there to shut him out, leaving sophic alone with no bomb and two players still to find. Now he's going on a rotation, interestingly, through the B site. Now this could be a bit of a surprise for some of the players on the other side, especially if he manages to wrap around through CT, but I feel like at this point we should be seeing maybe a little bit more aggression coming out, like to try and take some control, to try and make the realization of where this player is not coming from, and then it'll be a little bit easier for the CTs to narrow it down. They have cleared out the ramp, so that should set them up nicely to win this round. However, sophic coming in from CT still might be a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it's within the realms of possibility, though, which I think forZe should at least be somewhat aware of. And, ooh, sophic wins that first fight against Jerry. 1v1 battle against the first man, but he doesn't realize almazer is also playing from A ramp. I think sophic was surprised that the second man was A ramp because Jerry fought alone there, even though he had his teammate behind him. His teammate wasn't ready to trade, but eventually almazer steps out and does the dirty work. The odds over on Unicorn still favoring forZe, but after a slow start, ESPADA are gaining some steam, according to our official bookmakers over at Unicorn. And as we head into this round, ESPADA finally on their last legs in terms of their money. They've had to take 3 Galils and some missing nades into round number 10.
Yeah, this is again an opportunity for the money to be reset.
For both teams.
Yeah, that's true. There we go though. Facecrack with a good start. He started to rise into this one, and how they're not clearing Jerry at this point is beyond me. He's played the same position almost every single round. Flit, good timing, and a perfect finish. 3 players surviving from the CTs will build their cash at least a bit. And as you mentioned, the T side now going to be left in a financially awkward spot.
Financially destitute, I think is the way to describe it. I mean, they still have some money, which is more than some people can say. Shout out to all my friends still at uni. But yeah, it's just Glocks in this round. It's very unlikely ESPADA are going to be doing a whole lot of anything. Ooh, I thought the bomb was about to peek mid, which would have been even worse. sLowi gives it back to his teammate. This is mainly just a chance for forZe to build up some money. They've got Jerry on an MP9 as well, which would be nice if he could get involved in the action. Ooh, Jerry is getting aggressive with it. This isn't exactly SMG range, but against the Glocks, it's not going to matter a whole lot. He goes back for the fight and gets a Glock shot towards him, just in case he wanted a different weapon. Push through B. ESPADA just spreading out here, trying to see if they can maybe find a gap, but right now, that's not happening for them. I don't know what this fight is, yeah.
Like, you can do damage at range with the MP9. Like, the taps are relatively accurate, but even still, I just don't see the point. Like, it's not worth the risk. Flit going to come in and, yeah, flawless. That's exactly what you want to see from forZe. If you are hoping for a comeback, maybe you've got a bet on at the moment over at Unicorn, of course. If you do deposit $20 during this Hellcase Cup, you will receive 80 to play with. So, you know, it's just not that sounds like a pretty good deal to me, especially if you are a regular better or maybe just wanting to give it a go. Of course, make sure to always gamble responsibly, because it is of course a risk, and that's one of the reasons that I'm personally not someone who bets too often. In fact, at all.
It's a risk you have to be willing to take, Tom. And for you, clearly, it's not a risk that you are happy to take. Apparently, ESPADA are happy to risk pushing this B site, and almazer just shuts them out entirely. Snappy aim on 3 kills on the B site, and he might be good for more here because degster's about to push his position. almazer goes back for more, 4 kills on the hold. He is smashing ESPADA out of this round right now. It is still a 1v2 for sLowi, but almazer closes it with the ace in emphatic fashion.
Yeah, that is fantastically played, and the fact is, even if he gets, say, 3 in that scenario, there's still a relatively high chance they would have lost that round. So, killer work from almazer. You have to frown upon ESPADA a little bit for not being able to clear this man out. He even runs through the edge of a Molotov towards the end of that, which causes him to go down to just 6 HP. But he does make it work. That's going to be the equalization. The strong early start that we saw from ESPADA has quickly dwindled into forZe looking to try and take the lead. They're going to get aggressive, though, and Patsi still going strong. He's hit double digits in this first half, and it's the Tech-9 to benefit him here.
Yeah, now that it's a round where ESPADA don't just have Glocks on one of these low buys, they can actually try and compete in this one, especially with that opening kill favoring them. I think forZe are much more comfortable leaving almazer more alone on the B site after that last round. ESPADA is starting to slowly work their way over to A. The problem is they don't have nades, so the AWP of xsepower is going to be something that's very difficult to overcome. This boost is also about to be spotted. Good angle from Flit to deal with it. And there's that AWP chiming in. So difficult to do anything at range against this AWP when you've got no nades and just the pistols. And that will end up being the biggest issue in the round for ESPADA. Closed out by forZe, who get themselves into the lead. After a slow start, they've really picked up steam here.
Yeah, and this is more of what we expected from them, being able to shut down players. Unfortunately, Dima has not quite had the performance we were hoping for, though Patsi and degster are still going strong, and if degster can keep up the momentum going into the second half, I'm sure that could make things fairly entertaining for us with a pretty decent AWP battle on either side. Obviously, degster being the sort of young up-and-comer, whereas xsepower has definitely been around that little bit longer. Someone we know that can be a reliably successful AWPer. Really does seem to depend on form. Dima, however, his early aggression on apartments is not going to go unnoticed, and some counter utility is expended by the CT side. Patsi also, again, looking to try and wrap around through connector. Now, connector's one of those spots where I think a lot of the time you're going to see these young, like, aimer types try to battle for it. It's a position where you can get relatively close to your opposition, and it's something that they've done quite well at dominating thus far, and something that xsepower hasn't really been able to deal with. It's been his A ramp holds that have been impressive. Nonetheless, we are going to see the rotation, and worryingly, the palace has now been taken by Jerry. He's gone a step further than just waiting on the balcony, and with multiple players again setting up for ramp, this could be a problem.
It's that same situation, though, where ESPADA are using all their smokes early in the round. They only have one smoke left, but the flashbang is all they need. xsepower caught repositioning. Jerry is on that flank, but there's no one there to slow down this bomb plant. facecrack is just now arriving towards this A bomb site, but I don't think he's going to be able to deny this bomb plant. He's got a teammate helping him. FinigaN falls, but the bomb is planted safely. 4v4 retake, full kit, and plenty of nades left for forZe. That's the positive for them. Jerry's got a full set of nades on the flank, and Flit's nade has already got himself a kill. And here comes Jerry. This flank is going to be good for at least the one kill. Patsi and sLowi now looking for a way in, looking for some kills, but it's slowly but surely going against them. And even though sLowi's got the flank, he's smoked off. He's got to line this up. He's got to pull the trigger. Flit's on the bomb. Oh, the bomb is defused. sLowi gets a kill, but almazer was there body blocking for his teammate as forZe get an 8th round and already have themselves winning out this half.
Yeah, and considering the way that this started, like firmly in the favor of ESPADA, this has been a good resurgence from forZe. Definitely not been as clean as maybe they would have liked it to be, but I think that they should be alright going into the T side, especially if they can get this final round, of course, with the loss bonus now available. ESPADA, they're going to be relatively comfortable buying into this one. No AWP for degster, but to be honest, I think it's been his rifle that has been more impressive so far. They are going to take a moment, though. Of course, the difference between a 9-6 and 8-7, a much closer scoreline, although it is only a round difference. Especially considering a pistol win either way can pretty much give you the lead. So I'm happy to see ESPADA take that time to try and confirm this final round. But the worrying prospect for me is just momentum. I feel like with a lot of CIS rosters, momentum seems to be everything. Interestingly, there's actually 2 AWPs outside the map there for forZe, so clearly just flexing on us by throwing a couple of AWPs away. But here we go, looking like a much faster execute this time, throwing all of those grenades in towards the A site in the early portions of the round, maybe trying to bait a rotation, because as of right now, the T's have not executed.
Yeah, there was quite a few nades used over at A early, but forZe did not fall for it whatsoever. And ESPADA didn't really have themselves in positions anywhere else to make the most of it, to even try and get a timing window to go their way. They have now got 3 more smokes being lined up over on A, and that's where the bomb is headed. But the rest of ESPADA have got a couple of players over at B as well, so it's up to these 3 players on the A side of the map to try and make the distance, unless this is a big fake, which it is. The bomb is going all the way back as Dima gets that first entry. He's had a slow game so far, but he's very capable, and this fake is working. forZe are rotating over here. The bomb is staying around on A, though, so ESPADA now get themselves on the B site. This is the most absurd double fake I have ever seen, but it's working out for ESPADA. They get onto the A bomb site, and degster brings it into a 3v3 with a free bomb plant on A for ESPADA.
Important kill for Dima as well. He gives them the man advantage back, and in the meantime, there's a long rotation coming in from Flit. xsepower has got to be careful here. I think he's going to have heard Dima in middle, so that will at least give them a little bit of information, but that information is not really too valuable. They could have probably guessed that anyway, based on the current plant position, and Dima has been heard probably about 15 times at this point, and he should be cleaned out, but he wins the battle. That was a real opportunity, and now not knowing that there's a player just on the edge, it's not going to be anything here. Patsi will close it out. Dima finally comes alive after a pretty quiet half from him, and it's going to end 8-7 with ESPADA at least stealing one at the end.
Yeah, getting themselves one more back. I still am very surprised that fake worked, but it was kind of cool to see them basically fake out that they were going for an A play, then have a couple of players take the B site, and they just had forZe panicked. They had forZe on the back foot there. forZe fully rotated back towards B because they realized, oh, we've given up B, and there were a couple of players there. They assumed it had to be that fake, but ESPADA managed to come back onto the A site for free. Really well worked by ESPADA in that last round, but there's still more work to be done for them heading into the second half. As a quick reminder, this is their map pick. So that's something that we've got to keep in mind. ESPADA, despite getting off to a pretty decent start here, forZe have been able to really come back into this one on Mirage. And on this T-side pistol, they're going for a pretty fast play here, out through Palace and out into this A site.
Jerry already an opener, but Patsi again, he's just stepped up huge. 3 kills with the USP, but even still, that might not be enough. It's left to Dima and NaToSaphiX. xsepower with one more to at least try and even things up, but Dima's ready for his reface, and it will be the pistol round going to ESPADA. Another look for a strong start from them. I don't expect to see a force here from forZe, but a lot more teams have been investing into these pistols, trying to make the Tech 9s, the Deagles work out. I do kind of hope that they are just going to stick it out, take the hit, and come in with the AKs in the next round.
Yeah, it might be the safer call at this point, especially with the scoreline being so close. And there we go, forZe pretty much full saving across the board. Not many nades either, literally just the one P250 in play. I guess they're going to try and go for some fake over towards B while the bomb stays in Palace. Honestly, their chance of getting anything out of this round is already slim to begin with, so doing something crazy, ridiculous like that might not be a bad idea. And there's a chance they could double up on these players on mid right now. forZe looking for the early fight. sLowi struggling somewhat, and how is that player not dead? Finally, Flip finds him. sLowi unable to help out his teammate, but eventually he gets one kill. And yeah,
that's brilliant.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Brilliant. I can't believe that worked, because that's like one of those strategies that it is trash. Like it's one of those things you might see in matchmaking where you're with that dude who goes, "Everybody rush A, I plant bomb B." It's like, no, that's not going to work. Why would they rotate? But FinigaN actually rotating to support his teammates in mid has given away a bomb plant. And the difference is that xsepower now gets his AWP. He gets armor and a smoke, and then all the rest of the team are there with a full amounts of utility. I feel like they put a bit too much detail into this guy's face.
I know,
it
right?
makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's going to be you in 20 years, Tom.
20 years, more like 5.
Oh, ESPADA into the lead. Might be a short-lived lead, though, based on the buys here. forZe have definitely got the better end of the stick. Full buy for them, while ESPADA have kept some of their weaker weapons into round 18. degster was holding window, but just the one smoke has forced him away from that position. So mid control can be taken by forZe, and it will be taken by forZe. 3 players moving into position. A couple of players stacked into the B apartments as well, but ESPADA have rotated 3 members onto the B side of the map. So if that play were to come through, you'd expect ESPADA to lock it down, but it's the SMG pushing first into the apartments. almazer's got to be ready, and he is. Shot lands, but Patsi's waiting up close. They're not ready for this. Patsi gets that first kill, almost lines them up, but facecrack is able to trade. And now the question is, will they expect Dima at the back of the bomb site?
Well, it looks like they will. The Molotov's already forced him off the angle. However, with the amount of time that's been spent, a full rotation has come in from the CT side. Flit trying to push in solo. It seemed like a completely disjointed push, and because of that, ESPADA and are now bringing it back. This is a mistake from forZe. The team synergy just not quite there, and now it's left all onto Jerry. He gets that first kill. That will at least enable maybe a bomb plant. He goes for the fake, and while they didn't learn in the pistol round that there's more than enough prep from ESPADA when those sort of plays happen. It is going to be a 10th onto the board, and the T's, well, they really could have used that bomb plant.
Yeah, I think when you get 2 picks in the apartments like that, when you're forZe, you just got to commit to it at that point. Even if there is a stack in play, even if there are more players, you have to get there before the rotation. And they completely slowed it down, expecting that flip from short might be able to make the difference. But that's a big risk to take at that point, because you know you're allowing ESPADA to get into position. And you didn't really get slowed down by nades or anything. So forZe, unfortunately, losing out there. What is not unfortunate, though, is that Hellcase have been the sponsors of this tournament. We are very glad to have them, and you can use the code SLTV15 for a 15% refill bonus. forZe, unfortunately, though, won't have that luxury right now. They've gone down to pistols ahead of this one. Nades on a fair few players for them, but being 10-8 down right now, it's not looking too great for forZe, especially with that last round going against them pretty convincingly in the end there. We'll see if the pistols can do anything in this one, though, because at least they have some nades to try and get themselves into this one.
degster getting a couple of opportunities. A lot of flashbangs being expended, but ultimately to no real prevail. It's looking like they're going to try and attempt some pressure on this B site once again, but after not getting the early push, they're actually going to go rotating. They can always make their way back after a certain amount of time, maybe not wanting to allow too much map control the way of ESPADA to circulate their position. The fact is, I think it's going to be fairly obvious. Dima winning out the duel and leaving, again, a fairly limited amount in this round. Almazer even looking like he might head back towards the spawn, so clearly not any set plan at the moment from the side of forZe. Maybe just hoping that they can catch somebody rotating or do some damage elsewhere. Almazer, in fact, is just trying to fake out footsteps. That's what it looks like, at least.
Flip's about to be spotted. Oh, not the spray that sophiX needed, though. Can sometimes have some issues as an individual on this ESPADA team. He's capable as an in-game leader, not so much as a player at times, and that spray is an example of that, where the round is potentially opened up here. Flip's got himself a rifle into his hands, but with Jerry falling, I think that ESPADA should be okay to hold on to this one. Patsy's been able to land a long-range shot, and that is an ambitious bomb plant attempt from almazer, with 3 players waiting for him from CT spawn. ESPADA secured the 11-8 scoreline, and now there's a fair bit of pressure on this round for forZe. If they lose this, they run the risk of falling really far behind here on Mirage.
Yeah, and to be honest, we've seen now 2 halves where they've had relatively slow starts, like the T's in the last half being able to get a 5-1 or 6-2 lead before they eventually streak some rounds back. Now we're looking at a 3-0 lead again before we've really seen anything from the side of forZe. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can bring this back. sophiX already starting things off onto Jerry, and they're continuing this aggression in the Palace, and Flit's going to get taken down as well. It seems like everything that ESPADA attempt is working out. However, they do kill off degster. Now, they should know that there's another player within the Palace, which they do. facecrack, minimum a kill, and he gets it. Second as well. Fantastic stuff from facecrack. He's brought this round back from the depths, and the fact is, they could even go for a rotation into B at this point if they really wanted to. Knowing that there's a player in the Palace, they've still dedicated themselves in this direction. It's actually going to make the split potential possible, and especially with facecrack, he has to be careful, and he's just not ready for that. They don't even have anyone watching CT. This is some serious mistakes being made, and now it's left onto this man once again. xsepower in the clutch. The first goes his way, but now there can be just a push onto that bomb, trying to bait him out. I like this, as he doesn't have himself a kit, but he will have enough time now. He's killed his opponent.
Good work from ESPADA to come back into the round. It looked like it was going to go against them, but facecrack losing out there in that fight ended up being pretty costly. FinigaN stepping up in this one. Here were those kills from facecrack. Again, really well taken. Clinical headshots onto those first 2 members, but this fight from FinigaN was really important, making sure facecrack didn't have a good position to watch the bomb from, which he could have had if he'd won that fight. It probably would have been round over, but it goes the other way. And now forZe have a decision to make here. They should be buying into this round after the ability to have that bomb plant, the ability to have the extra money into this one. But they are just talking things over. And there we go. Buy comes in with the AKs. The odds over on Unicorn still favoring forZe here, but ESPADA are starting to make a claim here, starting to certainly show that they're going to be putting up a fight in this series.
Yeah, we're actually going to see them throw in the double orb because quite a pricey investment, and it still leaves a position now where forZe could realistically just win this round and break their economy, and then who knows, they're right back in this half. The issue though is after an 8-7, it's now been a 5-0 half for ESPADA. We've not really seen anything from forZe. The last round was definitely the most promising, but again, we're still seeing some disjointed plays, some almost misplays from them in advantageous situations, not realizing certain positions, maybe info not being spread out either. Again, we're going to see these grenades thrown over onto the A site and execution being made to basically get them an after plant position, which we haven't really seen too many of. The spam through the smoke actually doing a decent amount, and FinigaN in the corner needs to be cleared, which really revolves around Jerry. But I think he has to be the main man to take the peak here instead. Looking to try and plant the bomb. FinigaN finally strikes and it's perfect. He gets 2 kills, but that still might not be enough as there's 3 remaining on either side. Jerry falls back, and look at the wraparound from Flit. This should be something that's expected, but maybe not so late into the round. Patsi not expecting him to be here, and that's the kill that should end things. But Jerry also wide swings. A bit of an unnecessary fight, especially knowing the position of Flit and now facecrack to join him. And with no smoke, there's not really the time, but at the same time, the kill coming in is going to be a bait. They're baiting out the defusal. Flit hits the headshot, and now SoPhiX has no time. Way too close for comfort, especially considering the positioning at the end. But the fact is, even so, it will be the round for forZe.
Yeah, really close at the end there, but that's the positions that I think Flit can be good in. He's normally a pretty passive player, but that's because he knows he can deliver in these 3v3s, and that's what he does here. He gets that first kill to begin with, just about emerges through the smoke at the right time, and it gives forZe another round on the board. And that's why you put Flit in those spots, right? That's why he's much more in the back lines, because in those 3v3s, he seems to make all the right moves, and he is able to win his team the round. So forZe keeping themselves close, keeping themselves going here. Nice shot from xsepower as well. Catches SoPhiX completely in the open. No cover whatsoever for the CT at the start of this round. It is only pistols for the CTs, so this should be a fairly easy one for the forZe side of things. Although almazer has got to be a bit careful straying into the open. FinigaN's continuing to wait patiently, and forZe are just not clearing this position. In comes the kill from behind. FinigaN almost finds a second. ESPADA putting up a decent fight, but it looks like forZe will be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, a lot of these rounds making me very uncomfortable, that's for sure. I'm not sure what's happened with the finances, though, because it seemed like everybody was sort of saving cash except for Patsi. And it's not really hurt Patsi too much, as he's been handed an AWP, and SoPhiX the one who's ended up with an MP9. So a bit of a risk, I guess, to do some damage. But instead, it just leaves themselves in a bit of a weaker position here. They've got smokes, but that's the only utility we see for ESPADA. And again, if this round slips away from them, we could be seeing forZe doing exactly what they did in the first half. And, well, that will be all they need.
Dima here was jump peeking, but I think he has been able to get the information safely. Patsi here with this AWP that we were talking about. Big investment from his teammate to put this into his hands, but he's really blind. These flashes are fantastic for forZe. They can start to close the distance. Dima trying to anchor this bomb site, and he's able to stay alive. He's able to maneuver around that smoke. Eventually, though, he will hit the deck, and it's up to Patsi to step up. Second kill found, but I don't know if it's enough. forZe are going to be getting this bomb down in a 3v2, and unless degster gets something quickly, he's going to have to save, and it looks like the decision's already been made.
Yeah, no utility, no kits, and one of your players not even on a proper gun. It is an opportunity, though, for SoPhiX to try and remove some of the extra weaponry. That's one position where forZe are not really too dominant at the moment. They don't have much in terms of cash. And especially considering two players are relatively low, there's definitely a good chance here. Even still, it is going to be an 11th, and this is starting to give me flashbacks to the previous half after it was a 5-1 start. Things slipped away. Nice work from Sophic, though. That trade was definitely worthwhile. And although the AWP is going to be saved on either side, it's definitely not now a commanding position for forZe, but a good one.
Yeah, still a pretty good one for them. xsepower up there at 23 kills. Talked about his ability to take over a map. It's definitely starting to come through for forZe now. Over on the other side, degster's someone who we had a lot of discussion about for ESPADA back at the RMR event because he was touted as the best player on this ESPADA team. And at times, degster has shown flashes of that, but for the most part, it seems more like a team effort, and guys like Patsi have been really reliable for ESPADA. What I love about Patsi is a lot of the times he's not even put into spots where you'd expect him to be able to have much impact. Like when he's playing as the B anchor on Mirage, he can be surprisingly good and surprisingly effective at putting up numbers in that sort of position. I think Patsi, for a 16-year-old as well, putting him as the B anchor, as someone who's so inexperienced, I've been really impressed with what he's been delivering for this ESPADA team. Won't be delivering much in this round, though, because it's only degster with the AWP that ESPADA really have to work with in this one.
Yeah, this is where, realistically, facecrack should just be sent in as, like, bait, almost, just to see if there's a stack. He's someone who pretty much plays an out-and-out entry fragger, and I actually have a lot of respect for players who, like, just don't seem to be affected by stats. Like, I'm definitely someone, when I'm playing good, I'm playing good, and when I'm playing bad, I'm playing bad. I'm not very good at getting myself out of a rut, even though I've seen every single comeback under the sun happen in Counter-Strike. It doesn't mean I believe I can do it myself. Whereas someone like facecrack, he will sacrifice for this team. He will happily run in, take the fights, take the battles, take the almost distraction goal, so that people are looking at him for the main portion of the round. And occasionally you'll see him go positive, but that's not really the point. The point is that he sets them up to win, and he does it fantastically. And this man definitely has no fear. If you watch him play Nuke, he will push outside through smoke solo, big risk plays, but to try and get them openings on the T side, which is always going to be important. degster will be able to hold on to his weapon, and sophic looking for something a little bit extra, but unfortunately for him, there's nothing to be found.
Yeah, I think as well, considering facecrack's role on the team, his stats are surprisingly not terrible. If you look at his HLTV rating, like it's about a 1.00. It's pretty even, which is surprising because, like you said, he is someone who commits really hard to that entry role. I think I was looking up the opening kill stats, and he was one of the guys who had the highest attempted opening kills in the whole world, I'm pretty sure. So he's someone who really does commit to the aggressive playstyle to open up rounds, and there is that aggression paying off for him. facecrack gets the 1-for-1 trade, and it gets his team into a 4v4 at the start of the round, which is a win for forZe.
Yeah, I think if say, for example, we were talking about roster changes with forZe, I think from an outside perspective, you might consider him to be one of the ones you choose, but in all honesty, wouldn't be the right move. Patsi, though, he is killing it. You mentioned him as the B anchor. He's doing the role perfectly once again. xsepower, I think, knows that there needs to be some sort of trade here, but he's going to get peeked by multiple angles at once, and now Jerry, who's a little bit further behind, is not going to be able to do anything. It's taken some time, but ESPADA have got themselves back onto the board, and the amount of damage they've been able to do over the prior rounds has left them in a pretty good position, and left the T's, more importantly, in a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, I think it was at WePlay where we saw Patsi get, I think it was a 30-kill game on Mirage. I'm pretty sure it was this map where he was effective, and again, he's been good for ESPADA, probably their best player throughout this map, at least according to kills-wise. He's been up there at the top. Big round here for forZe, investing fully into this one. 13-12 down. They're going for this boost, and xsepower's so close to being able to see someone. The double scope to just desperately try and find an angle, but I think that was heard by the player at Sandwich. It's not going to matter, though. xsepower with an unbelievable shot onto degster, and that is one way to open up the round.
The thing is, that smoke's so valuable. It's perfectly placed, just making it impossible for Jerry to really have the impact he needed. Flit has at least found one back, but he needs more, and well, there it is. Another kill for him, one more chimed in by xsepower, and now it's left all onto young Patsi, and well, there's just some rounds that Flit will dominate, and that was one of them. 13-13, CT side still with at least some loss bonus and some finances available after a couple of rounds, saving some weaponry. The issue, though, is we're getting close to crunch time, and this being their map choice, they really need to be taking it.
See this shot again. Whew. Flicks over to the right side. Spotted, I think, mainly the leg of degster, but gets his head through the box. And a pause comes through ahead of this round because we are getting into crunch time. forZe's money remains a bit uncomfortable. They can have a drop from Flit, but there might be one or two weaknesses in their buy, even though they won that last one. Obviously, over on the ESPADA side, you can already see the FAMAS for FinigaN. And we get this this same man looking very intense. I like how big his microphone is as well. I like they included microphones, just because people are like, how do they communicate? There you go, he's got a mic and a headset.
Well, hopefully that helps.
Hopefully.
Hopefully that's something that they are doing.
It's like in the Avengers where you see like all of them talking to each other, and it's like they don't have microphones. How are they talking to each other? They're in completely different places.
They've got amazing tech that you can't even fathom.
Wow.
FinigaN gonna kick things off. That's an important kill from Flit, getting rid of degster, who has been one of the impact players so far, and NaToSaphiX in a bit of an awkward position. Jerry, okay, he's just wrecked them both, and now Patsi, I'm sure he'd love to try and bring this into the next round, but he's now being cornered in. He does manage the first kill, but realistically, this just has to be an exit strategy from Patsi. They want that weapon into the next round, and he's desperately low on HP. It's whether or not the T's will actually hunt this one down. It might not be worth it considering their own financial position.
Well, they do have players spreading across the map, so it looks like forZe are just going to try and commit to finding Patsi at the end here. I don't think they'll be able to, though. Jerry, in particular, has the AWP, so he doesn't really want to stray out of his position too heavily, and that means that Patsi will be fine to save the AUG at a minimum. You can also drop a gun for a teammate now, with $3,500 in the bank. The question is, do ESPADA want to force into this round, or are they willing to play for overtime? Get the replay of Jerry here, doing some damage with the Galil. That second shot through the smoke was superb. But here is ESPADA's decision. They're not fully investing into this one. They are taking the half buy, so ESPADA willing to play for overtime unless they can make some magic happen here in round 28 with just that one saved AUG on Patsi.
Yeah, he has been probably the most impactful player so far throughout this match, but facecrack has started to come alive. We're seeing the step up from plenty of the forZe players over the last few rounds, and it is again this good early start from ESPADA. They build off the momentum, they work off the pistol rounds, they have a couple of rounds, and then it seems like forZe realize that this is about to slip away from them. Molotov almost just being used as a bit of a flare in that scenario. T's, after finding the two entries, are just going to gather up together. Now, this is the smart play to make. Chances are you're only going to be coming across a player or two maximum, so as long as you trade effectively, that's all that really matters. A good chance for them to secure their bank until the end of the match if they win this one clean. And FinigaN, I don't know if he's going to realize until it's too late that there's so many players so far forward. Sophic, though, gets the timing, but he doesn't connect the shots, and because of that, facecrack just continues his reign of terror in this round. A third kill, and degster, well, I think he's a good player, but this is a bit much.
Boop. xsepower gets him at the end. Yeah, that was not happening at the end there. And ESPADA have got themselves this buy that they saved for. This was the decision that they made. This is the position they put themselves in. Having to play for overtime. Here's these kills again for facecrack. Getting that second onto Patsi was particularly important. And even though the AUG was recovered later by sophiX, he was unable to put it to use over at CT. So here we go. Round 29, a must-win round for ESPADA here on their map pick. They've got themselves the guns, they've got themselves the AUG for degster, and they've got some aggression. sophiX pushing all the way into Palace, but look at the response from forZe. They're pushing out through ramp, and they've been able to trade this one back.
Even got a double molly. Flit, he's been here almost every time. The fact that degster takes that push is so incredibly risky. They're trying to choose where to use their grenades, and that's a nice shot from xsepower. Now the bomb has been spotted. I think the T's need to make this play together. They can't just rely on Flit to retrieve the bomb on his own. They know there's been a player in Palace, so the fact is they're actually just going to wrap around. This is interesting. Maybe trying to find that second player first and then just all play together to try and get rid of the man who was waiting in Palace. Nabbing the bomb's going to be difficult, and a kill nabbed elsewhere from Patsi gives them the 2 versus 2. The trade eventually comes in from Flit, but FinigaN still in a prime position.
Ooh, FinigaN seems to have realized that something's up here. He didn't want to stick in Palace the entire time, realizing that forZe probably are aware of where he is, considering they haven't gone back for the bomb already. So FinigaN's trying to get ahead of the game here. I really like this read from FinigaN, but I'm not sure if he gets here in time. It's going to be close. He's sprinting on over with knife in hand. FinigaN trying to see if he can arrive on the B bomb site before they get here, and he may be able to. FinigaN moving in. There's the initial kill he was looking for. And xsepower with the AWP has got to win this one for forZe. Looks for the fight, but FinigaN, oh, it's an uncomfortable spray, but it's one that works for him. Great read from FinigaN as he moves back to the B site and keeps ESPADA going.
Yeah, they survived solely off of his play. I thought when they managed to retrieve the bomb that might have been the be-all and end-all of the round, but the fact is he is able to keep things going. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the prettiest of buys because he was the only man to keep a gun in hand, and on the T side, in fact, have come out much further on top. A great performance from xsepower, 28 kills. But the fact is, they again, could have kept this one in a much better position. Some risks taken, some fights that probably should have been left, and the fact that it seems like ESPADA are just clinging to life after having a 4-round advantage. And this is it, Alex. This is where we're actually going to have a few pieces missing, it seems. There's an AWP dropped for degster, so that's not too much of an issue, but a couple of MP9s is definitely not what they were hoping for in this round.
No, not the ideal weapons to have in the mix, but that's not something they can be thinking about right now. They've just got to be focused on winning this round at hand and trying to take us to overtime. Both teams taking it slow. I feel like whenever we get to round 30, you see teams just try and take a more passive approach, but ESPADA are changing that. Both MP9 players pushing into the B apartments, gaining some ground early into this one. It's a bit of map control for ESPADA, and a bit of map control that's needed because they haven't been able to fight for mid in this one. So having a man in B apps is going to be valuable for them. But in comes some smokes into the A site from forZe.
Just trying to go back to the more classic execution, but for now, it almost seems like a bait. They're going to wrap through the connector, and there's actually nobody able to watch this. degster's the only man in check as he looks in that direction at least. They've already managed to get past his crosshair. They've got to be careful of the man above. FinigaN is going to open things up. almazer quick to trade. The bomb's been dropped in the open as they do look to make their way through, but that spam through couldn't have been better. And now another kill up for Jerry. It's left all onto Dima. He is going to be caught, although it seemed maybe an uncharacteristic miss from Flit. Dima is going to go back and try and retrieve, potentially retrieve the AK. In fact, it's actually just a push back through jungle instead, as he ends up hunting for Jerry, and he's not quite going to be able to do it. It was a decent showing from ESPADA on the first map, as they did manage to at least do some damage. With both pistols won, you kind of thought that should have been their map to take. Unfortunately, just the resilience from forZe, some big plays coming up from Flit and also xsepower, and eventually it slips away from them.
Yeah, just the team on forZe, I think, having that edge in firepower for the most part. That seemed to be the bigger difference across the majority of the rounds, and that's often the case when it comes to Mirage, which is why, unfortunately for ESPADA, if they come up against some of these better teams, you're going to struggle sometimes if you're picking this Mirage map, and forZe proving that they can step it up. I mean, even thinking back to this round with the pistols, this was just the individual skill coming through for forZe. A lot of rounds coming through for them thanks to plays like these. And that's what helps them come out to the victory on their opponent's map pick. Very good start for forZe here. And this is the statement we wanted to see from them. We wanted to see them say that they're still a top CIS team. That's one way to start it off, winning ESPADA's map pick.
Yeah, I think the only thing that worries me a little bit is that when we saw ESPADA play versus the likes of Spirit, there was never any doubt for me that Spirit would win the map. Like each map that was played. Sure, maybe some of them they got like 10, 11 rounds, whatever you name it.
Yeah.
There was never a point in those games where I was like, okay, Spirit are going to lose this. Whereas I was almost confident that forZe were going to throw this one away. Like they lose both pistols. They lose, I think, both times their first buy round. They were making silly mistakes and really relied on individuals like Flit and mainly xsepower to have phenomenal performance. The other thing as well, there was a couple of underperformers on the other side, like Dima, who was someone was, if anything, maybe even the best player for ESPADA, definitely the most consistent. Really didn't have those same sort of impact plays we expect from him, and maybe that's because forZe are used to playing him, whereas some of the other teams might not have had that same experience. But the fact is, he wasn't quite as impressive as I would have liked to see, at least in the majority of rounds. So definitely something to gain going into the next map. The unfortunate fact is, though, that is going to be the choice of forZe on a map that, although a lot of the time we've seen them like fail against teams they should have beaten, Inferno's been one where it hasn't been so much the case.
Yeah, it's generally pretty solid for forZe. I think just heading into this Inferno in general, ESPADA are definitely going to have a lot to do, just based on the teams they've been playing on it. They haven't really played any team on a caliber of forZe. In fact, the last really top team they played was forZe, where they lost this one 16-9. Then before that, they played Complexity. They lost 16-6. I mean, these are understandable losses, but they don't paint the best picture, especially after coming pretty close on your map pick and then losing. This is where some teams that are the underdogs can really struggle to get back into the game mentally, because ESPADA will probably be feeling when they had that 12-8 lead like they should have been closing this game out. And as soon as that goes against you, you've got to really dig deep to try and come back once you're heading into your opponent's choice.
Yeah, for sure. So realistically, we're going to have to see ESPADA dig relatively deep if they are going to bring this one back, of course. So you can never really count out teams in a CIS matchup. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, like Na'Vi go close versus teams we expected them to destroy, like BP the same. It hasn't been clean the majority of the time, and forZe have definitely struggled versus some teams that they should have been able to beat with the caliber of players that they actually have. But they managed to get this one over the line. Definitely a good sign, especially when losing both pistols. I think if they won one or two, who knows, this really could have been a much closer affair. But as you can see, like it was a lot of good work coming in for xsepower, but Patsi, FinigaN putting up a pretty good performance themselves. So maybe if they can carry that over to the next map, it could at least be a little bit more of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, that's what we've got to hope for heading into the next map. I think seeing xsepower have such a good game as well is definitely a good sign. I think this sort of game is one where you'd expect xsepower to be able to really dominate against a team like ESPADA, where he can play aggressive and just loose and free on a map like Mirage. So I'm happy that he was able to get involved a lot. I'm happy he was able to get nearly the 30 bomb, 29 kills on the board.
Close enough.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll still be fine with it.
Well, either way, that is it for the first map of this series. Inferno is coming up next, so make sure you join us after a short break.